Hi, I'm Megan, and today I'm going to show you how to play Honey Buzz. And I'm also going to go over the solo rules. This is by Elf Creek Games and published by Goliath. 1 to 4 players, plays in around 45 to 90 minutes for ages 10 and up. To set up, you're going to place the 2 game boards in the center of the table. Both the boards are double-sided. You have the A side and the B side, which is shown here in the top left corner. The B side is a variant that you can play with, and the A side is the normal way to play. So we're going to set up for the A side. And then this board shows here at the top the number of player count. So if you're playing 3 to 4 players, you're going to play with this side. And if you're playing 1 to 2 players, you're going to set up this side. So I'm going to set this up for a solo and a 1-player game. Then you're going to separate the hive tiles and place them in their hive box. The one with the 5 money coins is going to go here, which it does show on the board the coins, paper, the little, I don't know what the baby bees are called, but the little baby bees. The little paper scroll goes here. Then we got the new bees, just gonna go there. Then we have the wax seal, which is gonna go here, and it does show right behind it the wax seal, so you know that it goes there. The fan goes here, and finally the flowers go here. Then you're going to place the coins, pollen, and honey in a pile nearby the board. I'm just going to keep it in the game box and have this off to the side. If you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, it may be more helpful to actually take them out of the box. Then you're going to sort the Queen's Contest cards, which a reminder right here of what they look like. You're going to sort them into their color groups. So you have pink, yellow, and purple. Then you're going to shuffle each pile. And you're going to draw 1 card from each stack and place it face up here. And then for the cards that show the coins, you're going to place coins on top of them based off of player count. So in a 2-player game, you're only going to place a 20 on each of the cards that show the coins. In a 3-player game, you're going to place a 20 and then a 10 below it. And then in a 4-player game, you're going to place a 20, then a 10, and then a 5 at the bottom. So I'm setting up for a 2-player game, so I'm only going to place a 20 on each card. For solo, you're going to use different cards, and I'll go over solo rules at the end. Next, you're going to sort the order cards. So you have small orders, and large orders. And you're going to shuffle each deck. You're going to place the order cards down here in these 3 areas, and that also is based on player count. So in a 2-player game, you're going to place 1 small order and 2 large orders below it. So I'm going to place 2 large orders, and they go face down. And then I'm going to place 1 small order on top of each of those, face up. In a 3-player game, you're going to do 2 large orders on the bottom, face down, then a small order face down on top of those, and then another small order on the top that's face up. So the only card that will be face up is the very first card of each stack. And then in a 4-player game, you're going to do 2 large orders at the bottom and then 3 small orders at the top, with the very top card being face up. Next, you're going to place 1 honey of each type and 1 pollen for a 3 or 4-player game. You're going to place it at the very top, and in a 2-player game, you're going to place it 1 below that. Oops, it'd help if I put these in the right spot. So we got wildflower, rosemary, cherry blossom, and acacia, and the pollen. And they're all one below the top spot. That's for solo and two-player game. Each player is going to choose their color from blue, yellow, green, and pink. And you're going to give them all their player pieces. So you'll give them their little bee token and the fan token and all their colored bees. And for now, I'm just going to put it right here. You're also going to give them 4 hive tiles with the backside showing their color. And finally, give each player a player aid, which they are double-sided. Then you need to determine who's going to be the first player. If you go by the rulebook, the first player is whoever woke up the earliest the day you are playing. And give them the first player marker. The number of bees you start with and the number of coins you start with depends on your player count and who is first player, second, third, and fourth. So the first player is only going to start with 1 worker, as well as the second and the third player will also start with only 1 worker. The fourth player will start with 2 worker beeples. Yes, they are called beeples. Place the rest of the bees in a supply. So you want to place them away from your area so you remember that these you don't have access to right now. It may be helpful to place them in the areas surrounding this top new bee hive tile. The first player gets 5 coins, the second player gets 10 coins, the third player gets 15 coins, and the fourth player, for some reason, also gets 5 coins. Then each player is going to get a configuration card, which shows you how you are to set up your hive tiles at the beginning of the game. There are 2 colored cards, green, which is for standard, and yellow is for veteran. You are to choose these at random, but you can decide at the beginning of the game whether you want to play with the green ones or the yellow ones. If it is your first game, you can choose to start with this configuration card here, which has a star in the corner. And if you are playing with this card, this is for beginners, or if it's your first time playing, or if you just choose to play this way, you could. You have to set up your tiles exactly as it shows. So this one shows specifically where each tile goes, whereas these cards just show the shape and you can place any tile wherever you want. So all set up for the beginner card here. And I guess you can rotate it any which way, but in the rulebook it does show the star being in this bottom right corner. So now I have it set up just like that. And when you're setting up, just take 2 of these for example. When you're placing tiles, you can see that it has this light colored yellow here on the sides. You're supposed to place, I'm going to do it down here. So you're supposed to place them touching like this. Hopefully you can see that. So that's how you'll place them throughout the whole game and during your setup. All players will have the same configuration card. So have one person draw the card and then everyone will set it up exactly the same. And not only does it have to be the same card, but they have to be the same, set up exactly the same. So even the tiles have to be in the exact same spot. So for example, if this is how you had it set up, each player would have to put their fan in this location, the flowers here, the scroll, and the new bee. Then you're going to sort the nectar tiles into 4 groups based off of their front. And based on player count, you're going to remove a number of tiles from each group. So in a 2-player game, you're going to remove 2 nectar tiles from each group. You will only use 16 nectar tiles. In a 3-player game, you're going to remove 1 nectar tile from each group, and you will only use 20 tiles. And in a 4-player game, you're not going to remove any nectar tiles, you're going to use all 24 tiles. Then you're going to randomly, so shuffle them up first, and then you're going to randomly place them out on the grid here, starting from the leftmost column, going towards the right. So it shows down here at the bottom that in a 2-player game, you're going to stop at this column. So you will not fill these last 2. In a 3-player game, you're not going to fill this last column. In a 4-player game, you fill them all. So it'll look just like this in a 2-player and a solo game. Then each player is going to place their forage token on one of these B spaces here, and that's where you're going to start. You can do this randomly or in reverse turn order. So basically when you take a forage action, you're going to start from right here, this first tile in front of you. So in this game, you're going to be expanding your hive tiles. You're going to be foraging for honey. You're going to be trading in your honey and pollen to get these market cards. You can sell your honey and pollen directly to the market. You're going to be fanning your hive tiles to produce more honey. And you're sending your beeples out there to collect more hive tiles. The game ends when 4 of the 5 resources here cannot drop any further, meaning they're on the last space. Or it ends when 2 of these piles are completely gone. So on your turn, you're going to take one of your worker bees and place it in one of these hive boxes, which are separated by these white lines. In a 1- and 2-player game, these 2 tiles are in the same hive box. If you go here, you can take either one of these tiles, but to take this tile, it's going to cost you 5 coins. When placing out your workers, the number of workers you place depends on what other workers are already there. So on your turn, you're going to place one of your worker bees in one of the hive boxes, and the hive boxes are separated by these white lines. In a 1- and 2-player game, these 2 tiles share the same hive box. So if you go to this box, you can take either one of these tiles, but to take this tile here, it's going to cost you 5 coins. The number of worker bees that you have to spend in order to go to that hive box depends on how many bees are already there. So, for example, if there's already a bee here, then to go there, you have to spend 1 more worker than the tallest stack. So I'd have to spend 2 bees, and I'm going to stack them up like this. That also counts for your own workers. So if I had a worker and they have a worker here, I again have to spend 2 because the tallest stack is 1. If there was a stack of 3 and a stack of 2 in a hive box, then I have to spend 1 more worker than the tallest stack. The tallest stack is 3, so I'd have to spend 4 workers to go there. So that's how spending workers works. And wherever you go, you'll take the tile from that hive box and place it in your area here. So say I go here, then I'll take this tile and I'll place it in my area. And remember, you have to place it these light yellow sides touching. So like this. If you close off a area, so if you create a circle basically, then you're going to take all the actions that are surrounding that, that hole. So in this case, I have the forage, or not the forage action here, the decree action, the produce action, and the new bee action. And here on your player aid, it tells you exactly what each of those do. And you can take them in any order you want. So I'm going to do the forage action first. The forage action, you're going to take your forage bee and you're going to move one space orthogonally, so either forward or either left or right, up or down. You may move it one space for free, and then you can boost that action by paying 2 coins. So you can move it one additional space for every 2 coins that you spend. So I'm just going to also keep in mind the nectar tile that you can place in this area has to match this coloration. So hopefully you can see this, but we've got 2 whites on the sides, and then these little triangle points are both orange. So that worked out perfectly for me. That means this particular nectar tile goes in that area. So you have to match it up. Just like that. And now I've done my forage action, and I can do the other 3 now. And on the back side of your player aid, it shows you exactly how to create the configuration for creating certain nectar tiles. So the wildflower only takes 3 hive tiles to create. The cherry blossom takes 4 nectar tiles to create, which is what I just created. The rosemary also takes 4 nectar tiles to create, but they're in a different configuration. And the acacia requires 5 hive tiles. I think I was saying nectar tiles that whole time. I meant hive tiles. For the new bee action, you just take one of your bees in the supply and place it in this area here. For the fan action, you place your fan anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be in that particular circle. And then each nectar tile that is adjacent to the fan. So if I had a nectar tile here and here, all 3 of these would produce honey. So every nectar tile that is adjacent to the fan produces honey. So you're going to take that honey from the supply and place it on the nectar tile. And then finally, for this particular action here, we have the decree action. The decree action acts as a wild. You can take any of the other 5 actions for the decree action. So I can take another forage action. I can take another new bee. Let's do that. One other thing that I forgot to mention with the forage action is if you end your movement on an empty space, you get to take a pollen from the supply. So I've went over the forage, the produce, the new bee, the decree action. So I just need to go over the accounting and the market action. So the accounting action just gives you 5 coins from the supply. And the market action, this is the accounting, this is the market. The market action lets you perform one transaction, either sell to the market or complete an order. So you can turn in your honey. You can sell it directly to the market. So I can sell this 1 honey, and you look over to the right of the row that it's in. Right now the cherry blossom is at a 6, so I can sell this 1 cherry blossom for 6 coins. And you can sell however many honey you want to the market at a time. So I could sell 3 of these cherry blossoms if I had 3 honey in my hive area, and then I would get 6 for each of them. So I would get 18 coins. And then you're going to move that honey 1 space down after you sell that particular type of honey. And you can only sell 1 honey type. So I can't sell a cherry blossom and a rosemary. They have to be all cherry blossoms or all rosemary and so forth. Or you can also sell your pollen, but you can't sell pollen and honey. Or you can take a market card by turning in the correct amount of honey and pollen shown. So in order to collect this card, I need to have an acacia and a pollen. If I had that, I take this card. It'll be worth, can't see that there. it'll be worth 7 points at the end of the game. So you can place that in your area. Then you're going to flip over the top card. And I believe you do that at the end of your turn. Yes, at the very end of your turn, you'll flip over the next card. Because there's sometimes when you're able to do multiple market actions on one turn. That happens if you have multiple market actions in the hive, in the closed off area that you've completed. If you have multiple market actions or a market action and a wild, and you take multiple market actions, that lets you take either multiple cards or sell multiple times, in which case, if you do have 2 market actions, you could sell Cherry Blossom and Rosemary. But that's only if you have multiple market actions. And so you don't turn over this card because it's not available to you until your next turn, basically. You cannot keep buying from the same stack. And then you're going to take the action that is below the card that you took. So if you take from this stack, that gives you an extra forage action. So then you can now take your forage action and collect a nectar tile or a pollen if you land on an empty space. If you take the top card from this stack, that lets you do a produce action. And if you take from this stack, that lets you take another market action. But you wouldn't be able to take from this stack because the card would be face down. So you can only take 1 card from there, and then your second market action could be to sell directly to the market or to take one of these other cards. You can only take a nectar tile if you have a space to put it. So you can never place it like here, for example. It has to be closed off. So even if you get a forage action, if you don't have a place to put it, you cannot take that tile. There will be times when you close off an area and you don't get to put a nectar tile in there because maybe you didn't have a forage action to take by closing that area off. Or maybe you couldn't reach the particular nectar tile that you needed. So if you land on a nectar tile that you cannot take, you just stay there. You can't take that nectar tile. And if I ended my turn here and I can't take that nectar tile, so it's not if you don't want to take it. I believe if you land there and you can take it, you have to take it. It doesn't specify, it just says, the rulebook just says that if you can take it, then collect it. It doesn't say you have to, so you can interpret that however you'd like. And yeah, so if I end my turn here, I get to take a pollen because I don't have a space for that particular nectar tile. And forage tokens do not block other forage tokens. So if this bee is here, they can go on top of mine. They can end their turn there, or they can keep going if they spend coins or whatever. If they ended their turn here, they could take the tile that's right below me. If I ended my turn here and then on my next turn I need the tile that's below me, well, I think you're kind of out of luck because you do have to move your token first. Then you can keep taking your actions until you run out of workers. You can recall your workers at any time. Obviously, if you run out of beeples, you have to recall your workers. So I am out of beeples, so I take all the new beeples from this area, plus any of mine that were in the hive boxes, and place them back on my player board. So people may be recalling workers at different times, and that would obviously free up some space to place out new workers so you're not having to spend as many workers on one section. And then after you retrieve your workers, you're going to scout for nectar. So you get to move your forage token one space in any direction orthogonally, not diagonally. But you may not spend coins to move extra spaces, and you do not collect a nectar tile or gain a pollen from the supply. That's basically just moving your forage token closer to where you'll need to be on future turns. And you do not have to take that action. You could choose to move if you want, but you don't have to. So to recap, on your turn, you place out a worker, stacking them if you have to place more than one. Then you take the tile and expand your hive, and then you'll take the hive actions if you've closed off an area. If you cannot place any more bees because you've run out, or because all the other hive boxes are occupied and you don't have enough bees to spend the correct amount, then you have to recall your workers. So you would recall all of your workers, including any that were in this area here. And then you get to move your forage token one space in any direction orthogonally, but you do not collect a pollen or the nectar tile. That's simply just moving to get you closer to where you want to be for your next turn. And then I think the last thing to go over is these contest cards. So for the particular cards that we have out here, we have most empty cells, 10 workers, and 3 nectar of any one type. There are 2 types of contest cards, which are shown with this symbol here. We have the speed contest cards, which have the 2 flags, and then you have the final contest cards. The speed contest cards, it's a race to get them. So it's whoever gets them first gets the coins that are on the top of the stack. So obviously it gets less and less. If you're the first player, you get 20, and like I said, in a 2-player game, you only have 1 reward there. So it's whoever gets it first gets the 20. And then the final contests are rewarded at the end of the game. For the final contest, the person who places last does not receive any reward. So in a 2-player game, only the first player would get the reward from this card. And it shows here on the side the amount of the reward, 20, 10, and 5. So each player for this particular card, they're going to count up their empty cells, which is this here, meaning there's no nectar tile inside of it. Whoever has the most empty cells gets 20, the second most empty cells would get 10, and the third most empty cells would get 5. Only in a 4-player game will 3 people get a reward, because remember, the person who comes in last does not get anything. If 2 players tie for a given place, each of those players receives the full payout for that place, and the next player's payout is decreased by 1 place. So in a 3-player game, if 2 people tie for first, both people would get 20, and the person with the second most empty cells would get 5. You'll skip second place. If 3 or more players tie for a given place, each of those players receives the full payout for that place, and no further payouts are awarded. For the 10 workers one, it's whoever gets 10 workers in their supply first. So basically you're taking them from your supply and recalling them. And I think you'd have to check BGG to confirm whether or not, it doesn't specify in the rulebook whether or not the 10 workers includes workers that are here in the waiting area. So you could probably check BGG to find that answer. And then this one is 3 nectar of any one type. When it says nectar, it just means the tile. You don't have to have honey on top of it. Just having the tile in your hive area is good enough. So once someone has 3 cherry blossoms, they would take this. The other contest cards are these. So you have a final contest cards of the most nectar in a straight line. So let me get an example going here. So this would be a straight line here. I have 3 nectar tiles in a straight line. So whoever has the most gets 20, second 10, third 5. Then you have the most empty cells in a straight line. So basically if there was no nectar tiles in these 3 spaces, then I would have 3 empty cells in a straight line. Most nectar clusters. And that does show in the rulebook what that means. That's shown on the very back page of the rulebook. So a cluster is basically the 3 surrounding areas. So basically the 3 areas that are touching, the ones that make a triangle point, which it shows here, right here, triangle point, and what a straight line means. So that's what clusters mean. Where'd the cards go? Most nectar clusters. So it doesn't, that one, most nectar clusters, doesn't matter what nectar tiles they are. It just matters of how many of those do you have. This one is for the most nectar. So again, nectar means tiles, not these honey tokens. The fewest workers, so whoever has the least amount of bees in their supply. Whoever has the most order cards. Whoever gets 3 order cards first. Whoever gets 2 nectar each of any 2 types first. 1 nectar each of all 4 types, so having 1 of each type of nectar. And that's all of them. So now I'm gonna clean this up a little bit and go over solo rules. Before I go over solo rules, let's go over final scoring. For final scoring, you're gonna add up the coins. So these are your victory points as well as your coins. You're gonna score 1 point for each honey and pollen left in your hive. You're gonna score the indicated points for your place in each of the final contests. So if it's a speed contest, it's only if you collected a coin from there. And if it's the final contest, it depends on whether or not if you were the last player. Because remember, the last player doesn't get anything. And then you're gonna score the bonuses, the points from your order cards that you've completed. And then the player with the highest points wins. So now I'm gonna go over solo. Okay, so for solo, you're gonna use different contest cards, which have this brown back. You're gonna set up everything as if you were playing a 2-player game, except for the solo contest cards. So you're gonna separate them by their color. Shuffle them up and then choose 1 of each. For the configuration cards, you're going to choose 2 at random and then choose 1. And it's helpful to, well, it says in the rulebook to choose them based on which contest cards are in play. Then you're going to shuffle the drone cards. These are the drone cards. They have this back on one side and this back on the other side. So we're going to shuffle those up. And you're going to place them, You're going to place them in a deck nearby the board somewhere with the hive side face up. This is the yellow side face up. Now, before the game begins, you have to choose your level of difficulty. So that's shown right there in the purple box. And it shows the minimum amount of score you have to get in order to win. So this one, you have to at least get that score, and if you don't, you automatically lose. If you do, then you go over here to this area to count how well you did, basically. You're gonna play as if in a 2-player game, so taking turns. At all times, there's going to be 2 hive boxes occupied by the drone bees, which are these brown ones. And to start the game, you're going to place one drone bee in the decree and accounting area there, and 1 in the market box. So that's where they will start the game. You can never go to the same hive box as the drone bee. Those actions are blocked off for you your first turn. On their turn, you're going to flip the top card of the deck and place it next to this deck here. So you're going to have one side that has this like blue background and one that has the yellow background. You're going to do the action here first. And it shows in the rulebook what each of the actions are, which is in this little blue box there. If it shows just one type of honey, then you're going to look at the forage area here. And you're going to see where that closest nectar tile is. So rosemary is the star. There are none out, but let's say there was. I don't know, let's just say it was there. You can either choose to remove that nectar tile, or you can choose to bump down that type of honey in the market action here. If this was over here and it was the only one, that's still the closest. So you can choose to either remove that or move this down one. Then you're going to do the action on this side of the card, and you're going to move the drone bee to this hive box. And this drone bee will always stay on this side of the board, and this drone bee will always stay on this side of the board. So let's do another example. Order card. That one's pretty simple. You just choose one of the order cards from the top of the stack and remove it from the game, and then flip over the next one. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Okay, so here's an example. Now it's moving to the forage hive box. So because the forage hive box is on this side of the board, this is the bee that will move there. Highest honey and pollen. So that one, you're going to find which honey is the highest value over here on the market. That would be acacia, and you move that down one, and you move the pollen down one. So that one, you don't have a choice. You have to move them down. If there is a tie, you get to choose which one. And that's pretty much how theirs works. You do your turn as normal, and that's how they take their turn. And then the contest cards you have, for this one, it says total orders. So remember, you're trying to get a certain amount of points in order to win based off of your difficulty. So if you chose the larva difficulty, you need at least 30 points to win. And these cards give you your main points. So total orders, if you have 0 or to 3 total orders, you get -5 points. 4 orders is 5 points. I'll just show you the card. And then you have total empty cells. 0 to 3 is -5 points. And this one is 3 nectar of any one type. If you have 0, -5 points. So those are pretty simple. They work the same as the other contests. Well, this part works the same as the other contest cards, but the scoring works differently. And that is pretty much it for how to play solo and multiplayer for Honeybuzz. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!